college official visits. This broke last week, I believe, but it was a busy last week. They have lifted the threshold of 5 official visits, and now it's unlimited. Steve had a rant about this with him being old-fashioned of why he didn't like it. So I'll let you go first, Steve, and then we'll spread it out between the two of us.
Well, look, I mean, we've seen the NIL game somewhat just completely change the landscape of college football as a whole. We're all learning. We're all trying to figure out how it works, what it does, what it can't do, what's right, what's wrong, what goes against the rules. Obviously, Florida's going through some transition. They're learning some of the ropes as well. But now we're going to go to a situation where money has just been injected into the sport, basically taking its amateurship away. And now we've got these kids coming out of high school who typically in the old recruiting model could only take 5 official visits, where you're essentially treated like a rock star. That limit has been lifted. So the old school days of these kids coming out and saying my top 5 schools are X, with the intent that those are the 5 schools that they will make official visits to. The 5, like my top 5 is officially gone. If you are a high school recruit and you give your top 5 out, you are an idiot because you have eliminated every other school from potentially bringing you in for your Rockstar visit, because there is no limit any longer. I would be releasing my top 20 consistently every week, and it would rotate teams in and out of there, just hoping that somebody was dumb enough to throw my fat ass on a plane and fly me to another state on a regular basis, and just keep doing it over and over and over again, because damn it, I like steak and lobster. And that would be my strategy going into my personal recruiting. It feels like it's just money is just coming out of everywhere and just putting these kids on planes, flying them all over the place. If I was a high school recruit, man, I'd be jumping up and down over this. I'm not gonna lie.
Look, I don't hate it. I think it puts kind of it back into the kids' court, right? And that kind of strangleholding them and making them having to decide between 5 schools. I think it's not going to be as wild, wild west as we're imagining it will be, because I think it's also schools are going to notice that. I also think that the official visits are getting very, there's a gray line, and there isn't much of a difference. If I had to say so myself, I think, again, we've talked about what's the difference. Official visit, the schools pay for it. They take care of everything. They roll the red carpet out, and just a regular visit, the student pays for it himself, and he doesn't get the special treatments, and he doesn't see certain things. But again, how much of that's actually being regulated? I think we can all say that the NCAA doesn't care or really regulate that. It's like, hey, we have a lot to go over now with the NIL and a lot of things that we have to keep our eye on. I'm not going to worry about whether or not this kid's getting an official visit or non-official visit, because the line is so thin. It's so thin, and I feel like again, I see what you're saying from perspective of top 5. I don't think that goes away, because we have a top 12, top 7, top 3. I'd never looked at that and go, wow, those are where his official visits are going to be now. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Look, it was interesting, though, because Jarrett Gibson had 5 official visits originally, and he filled that 5th spot with Miami. So then that does let everybody else know, well, like, there's no way he goes to Florida now, right? Well, he's visited Florida 19 times. They just weren't official. So how much of a difference is that visit, right? Is he not paying for an official visit to Gainesville because he lives 5 minutes from there, so he doesn't need to pay? And the difference between an official and non-official aren't that different. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's that big of a deal, I think. And that's probably why it didn't seem to really get much noise. But I know you were upset about it. And I think kind of that old mentality, right, being a long-time college football fan. And it could be the fact we've had so many changes over this past 2 years that at this point, like, they literally just say anything. They're like, whatever, just add it to the list. Just what's one more thing? Dave?
It's about right.
All the college schools better be ready to pony up some money for all that catering that's going to be going on when that happens. So, I mean, it's crazy that just the scenarios you could think of. Think about, like, if you're recruiting, just say you're going after a kid, right? And, you have them on an official visit, and then you have them on one more official visit, and then you're waiting for them to take an unofficial, and they're like, no, we have unlimited. Why won't they give me an official? Why won't they give me an official? Those kids could say that. I mean, because it's unlimited, right? So they're like, oh, well, this school probably doesn't like me that much because they're not giving me an official. They're making me visit on my own dime.
Yeah, that's my point. Is I think it's going to flip the other way to where, look, it's not going to be as wild, wild west as you think, because you think the schools now are going to be like, well, if I want to, I can give him an official visit. They don't have to really be picky and choosy either. So I think it's going to weigh itself out, to be honest with you. I really do. But look, good point, though. It is interesting to see how it's breaking down.
And to Holly's point, I would have me a top 130 every year, just because. Why not have a top 130 so every school's just vying for you, so you can just officially visit everywhere?
True.
Yeah,
True. Look, I think
kind of to your point about the running back. I mean, yeah, he's visited Gainesville a million times, but he lives 5 minutes up the road. Has he been to USC? Has he been to UCLA? Has he been able to go out to Oregon? Has he been able to go to Washington? Yeah, no.
A little bit harder for him.
But he can go to all of those now because he doesn't have to just limit his official visits. So that would require him paying to get on a plane and fly his ass out to the West Coast.
Look,
that's a little different than paying for some gas money to hit
down the road. The portal's changed a lot of things too, because I've talked to my little brother about this, who's a freshman, and he's talked to kids that are IMG, and then they're a little farther along in the recruiting process. He's been along with these guys. He's been on buses that are their junior year. He went on an entire tour with these kids, so he saw firsthand kind of what they're going through, and he's like, look, the noise and the excitement that was once there for high school kids is not there anymore with the transfer portal. It's just not the same. So there's a lot of changing things happening. These high school kids, and look, Cam Davis shutting down his recruiting. It's a very interesting thing, but I think it's almost got so noisy where it's like I don't want to be involved anymore. I just want to know where I'm going, and I'm going to focus, and I'm going to be bought in, and I'm going to help build this team. So we're going to get an FSU recruit here in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of me, but a great point here.